Taste of Country Nights with Evan Paul on demand, season 2, episode 38 with Brantley Gilbert. Now, tell me about this new album that you just put out called Tattoos. The album cover is interesting.
You know, this one's obviously different. And that's why I'm, it's Man Titty Tuesday. I'm topless at 40 on the album cover.
Yeah!
Because a lot of my tattoos are faith-based.
Man, we had such a good time talking with Brantley Gilbert. Later in the interview, we get into his gun collection and compare it to Post Malone's. Let's just say somebody's got a way bigger gun collection. We'll get into that. If you missed any of our past interviews, we just had Miranda Lambert on. You can check her out. Look for Thomas Rhett's interview, Lainey Wilson, Phil Vassar stopped by the studio. Just search for Taste of Country Nights on demand wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Taste of Country, we're hanging out here with Brantley Gilbert. What's happening,
What's
man?
going on, brother?
You good, man?
Awesome.
All right. He came with security, so we're not going to ask anything crazy. We do want to talk about the new album, though, Tattoos. The song that everybody is talking about, of course, is the one with Ashley Cooke.
Yeah.
Now, have y'all played it together live before?
We haven't. Tonight's the first one.
Okay.
And then tomorrow night for the world's largest album release party, we're going to break it out again. So.
I like how you name everything like this. I like it, man. It's like It's almost like WWE. Like,
that's it. Got to be a billboard, baby.
Yeah, I like that. Have you guys practiced? Like, is there anything that? Because I know when you recorded it, you weren't even in the same room, right?
Yeah, for sure. We've both been playing it live. Without the other, we have a video that runs that has her on it, and we pipe her vocal through, and man, it's been awesome. People really been feeling it and singing it back, and I hadn't been able to release a song like that in a long time, so it's been really cool.
Okay, since we're talking about song releases, let's go to the album. Are there any songs on there that 2011 Brantley would have been like, I ain't putting this out?
I don't know about that, man. This one does a little more of a nostalgia type thing. We kind of went throwback on some stuff, and all of my records up to this point, the 6 previous albums have all been, really big records. That a bunch of songs on them. They all told a story. They all covered a chapter of my life, and they all had a title that had something to do with my faith. And this one's obviously different. And that's why I'm, it's Man Titty Tuesday. I'm topless at 40 on the album cover.
Yeah.
Because a lot of my tattoos are faith-based, but also, that song and my tattoos together, they tell the story of the last 6 albums. So we were able to kind of, as opposed to focusing on that for the entire album, we were able to kind of put some songs on there that we were feeling that sounded good together. And also do some throwback stuff. We went back to writing songs with just guitars, and we got away from some of the digital programming stuff and went a little old school in the studio too. So, there's still some stuff that's outside the box, that's even new for us, and there's some heavy stuff in there. But there's also some throwback stuff to 2011 and before.
Let's talk Man Titty Tuesdays. Was there anybody in the label that saw that idea, with the cigarette and everything, and like freaked out?
No, that was a long day, man, and it got to the point where, I hadn't drank in 13 years, but, I'm a Willie Nelson fan.
Yeah.
And it got to the point where the old boy just needed to burn one. So I think they did their best to make it look like a cigarette.
Oh, okay.
But, I just
so is that like a joint or a blunt? Or
a little joint.
Oh, okay.
A jeter.
Okay. A little jeter. Did they? Was that like a point of contention where they like, I need to make it look like a cigarette?
It was discussed, but I don't think it really mattered either way. So now what it looks like, you can't really tell what it is. It's just, you can tell I'm smoking something.
Yeah.
As long as it ain't a pipe, we're good, I reckon.
It looks like a Marlboro Red. I feel like they did their job on that. Give me some details on baby number 3 while we're here, man. Yeah.
Oh, I'm excited. It was a surprise. I know I can tell you that. I had to be careful about what I say because my wife's well into the pregnancy and we're playing by her rules. So, man, I'm excited. We do know what it is. We do know the name.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, it's
so you haven't slipped up at all?
Nah, I slipped up and told folks it's I said him a time or two. So it is a boy.
Okay. I was going to say, that wasn't that hard.
Yeah,
I was about to try to get it. Okay.
Yeah, it's man, we're really excited. It wasn't something we were planning. We had talked about it. She had 2 brothers, so she came from 3. I just have 1 brother, but especially with the way society is these days, I feel like a lot of kids coming up, we have the opportunity to bring another one up in a home that values the family unit. And, my wife and I are really intentional about being parents. We can be friends too, but, we're parents first. And, a lot of the things that are going on in the world these days, I feel like, we have a unique opportunity to raise some kids in the right home with the right ideals, and hopefully send them on their way with a good moral compass, with their faith intact. So, did
your wife being pregnant have anything to do with you being shirtless? Were you like, I'm gonna let it out too?
No, I think the album being tattoos. I got to tell you, man, my wife's been really cool about the whole thing. And if the tables were turned and she was the artist and she was doing a duet, I don't know how I'd feel about that. She's been super cool about that. She was super cool about the album cover. And man, that was one thing we did talk about in house a bunch. It's like, are y'all sure you want me to do this? Because it's. I mean, I'm shirtless at 40, but it did. Like I said, all of my albums before this have had a faith-based title, right? And the first thing you see on me is a giant cross,
mm-hmm.
In the middle of my core, which is, it's a reminder for me to, the idea is for me to prioritize that above anything. And reality is it's hard to prioritize anything in front of your kids and your wife.
Mm-hmm.
But it's a reminder to me to kind of make a conscious effort in that direction. So.
Have you ever gotten any tattoos removed?
No, I haven't. I'm kind of the opposite of somebody that has a bunch of tattoos they regret. I had some stuff covered up on the back of my arm, just some stuff from a previous chapter of life that isn't a part of my life anymore and really didn't benefit me any. I learned my lessons from that stuff and the folks I was running with when that stuff went down. So, we covered that up, and but that's about the extent of it. Everything else, man, there were tattoos that I wanted to get in an earlier chapter of life that I couldn't afford or didn't have time to get, that I got later in life. Okay. I probably should regret, but I don't.
Are there is there anything off limits for your wife? Like, I know, can you jelly roll out or on the face?
She wouldn't be stoked about face. And the neck thing, I have what I want to do. Here it wraps all the way around to the back of my head.
I mean, is that a big point of contention?
Mm-hmm.
So
yeah, we're not crazy about that.
Okay.
We're not crazy about that.
So is that going to happen, you think?
I don't know. It depends.
Okay.
We'll see.
But you wouldn't go up past that?
We're going to play that one by ear or neck,
Okay. So maybe if you showed up with something right here.
No. She'll cut off the cuddling, bro, and I can't be having that. You know what I'm saying? I'd rather be dead than not cuddle.
Well, man, that's a rough transition, but tell me about Colt Ford, man. Give me an update.
Man, dude, that was it's still kind of hard to talk about. Colt and I, in 20 years, we look back and we have not played a show that close together without being on the same show in 20 years. So the fact that I was here, he was here, and the hospital was right in between us was wild. I came off stage and my phone was blowing up. It was Demun Jones, and I had a bunch of other missed calls, and I called Demun back immediately, and we were in the middle of a meet and greet, and I was like, "Hey, man, what you got?" And he said, "Is everything all right?" And he said, "Well, man, I've got some guys out at Colt's show, and there's an ambulance there," and bless his heart, hung up on him, and I just told my tour manager, I said, "Find Colt and get me to him." And man, the ambulance pulled in. We came in right behind him. So we were there for as long as I could stay. I literally stayed until I had to fly out, instead of taking the bus. And man, I still didn't get to see him before I left. We finally got him to the Mayo Clinic, and that was the first time anybody was really up front with us and told us anything. And I was there with Colt's fiance, and the woman came in and she said, "Guys, look, he's really sick." And, it's been a hard road to recovery for him. I know he appreciates the fact that he's still alive, but I think the recovery process has been kind of tough for him because he can't, man, that's all we've known for 20 years.
Mm-hmm.
Grind, and he's having to sit still. So the good news is, a couple months in, he started sending inappropriate pictures and texts again. So we knew we were getting our boy back. And the best news so far to me is, tomorrow night, that's the world's largest album, like I said, and he is making his comeback on stage.
Whoa, Colt Ford's making a comeback?
Yeah.
Tomorrow night?
That's it.
Wow. Okay. What are y'all? What's going to happen?
Dirt Road Anthem, baby.
Wow.
We've had, while he was still in the hospital, we got with his crew and went and got his mic stand. So every night when I play that song, I take it out and I put it beside me and I tell folks that I made Colt a promise, and I did. When the doctor released him to be able to do a show, I said, "You're coming with us." They won't let him do a full show for a while, but I said, "You're coming."
What are the logistics?
Oh man, he's coming from Oklahoma, so it's man, he's really making a hell of an effort to do it, and I appreciate the hell out of him because I can't imagine. There's some uncertainty there. I imagine there's a lot of anxiety there about getting up and doing it again as much as he's wanted to. But man, that dude's my brother. He could call me. I don't care what time of the night it is, and if I can't be there, I'll have somebody there to sit with him till I get there.
Wow.
He's family.
The crowd's gonna go nuts.
Yeah,
like nuts. That's so cool, man.
There's a few cool moments in the show for sure.
And the album also has you have some people on the album like Gary LeVox. I did not expect that.
It wasn't on anybody's bingo card,
dude.
Yeah.
No, and he's like a real powerhouse vocalist. So was it hard keeping up? Not that you're not, but was it hard keeping up?
No, I'm not, bro. I'm not Carrie Underwood. We ain't gonna try to bend the narrative here. Let's be honest. This thing sounds like diesel fuel and dirt roads and cigarettes. Let's come on. But no, the truth is, Gary and I have been friends for years. And in a more troubled time in my life, my mom, I was in some trouble and sitting somewhere I couldn't leave. And my mom sent me a couple songs, and My Wish was one of them. And there were a couple more. And when I did meet him, we got into a good conversation. I kind of told him that. And dude, when she sent that, I was in a place where I needed to hear it. So he ended up calling my mom. And then we both get to talking, and we're mama's boys. So we always said if we did a song together, it'd be one that our moms could listen to and be proud of and not have to worry about cuss words and everything. So
wow.
When I wrote this one, it was like, man, I think I got it.
Wow.
What a guy.
What are they up to? They're cranking something up. Something's brewing with them. They redid their Instagram and something's going on.
I hadn't got in the weeds with him yet about it. I know he's been doing his thing and man, I just, a voice like that, man, is, oh my gosh. It blows my mind. And on that track's one of the highest I've heard him, and on that one melody line towards the very end, he is, if he can go higher than that, it would blow my mind, but, he came in the studio and knocked it out, man. It's effortless to him. And it's just amazing for me to see people like that. And they're got where they are, for a reason.
And then Off the Rails sounds like kind of Kick It in the Sticks Part 2.
Let's go, baby.
Earlier in your career when you were playing clubs, what's the craziest thing you ever saw a fan do?
Oh, man. Dude, I wouldn't even know where to start or if I could say that on the radio. There's while we were talking about Colt Ford, he tells it better, but the first time he got on stage with us, this little hole-in-the-wall bar, and to hear him tell it, he said he walked on stage and in the middle of the song, guitar solo, I looked at him and said, as soon as this song's over, I'm going to hit the dude in the red hat. You get the dude in the blue shirt. And he said he thought I was joking, didn't think nothing of it. And he said the song ended, and he went to dab me up, turned around, and I was gone. And he looked down there, and I was on the dude in the red hat. He said, I didn't know what the hell to do other than try to find the guy in the blue shirt and hit him.
All right, no names. Has there ever been another country artist that has wanted to fight you?
No. I don't think so, man. To be honest with you, though, I don't spend a whole lot of time in town. Most of the guys I mess with, you know how it is. You've been here long enough. Man, at this chapter of my life, if I meet somebody that I know pretty quick whether or not they're going to be an asset or a positive influence, and if they're not, man, there's no agenda in the world worth being in a situation where I'm not around people that make me better or hold me accountable. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Or take something away from me. I was really unintelligent about that earlier in my life, or, I just throw myself in situations with people that I didn't necessarily care for. And when fireworks went off, everybody stood around and was like, why'd that happen? I know exactly why it happened. I went against what I knew was a better idea. So, man, I'm really careful about who I surround myself with, and I just don't do drama, man. I'm a dad now and a husband, and, I spend the night in jail. It's a night I can't spend with my kids.
That's a good quote, man.
Not that I ain't willing to go somebody messes with them, I'll sit there for the rest of my life. But,
yeah.
But if I can have my choice, I'm going to try to spend as much time with him as I can.
We asked this question to a bunch of people at the CMAs last year, and I was bummed that I didn't get to ask you. This is a big one I wanted to ask you. How prepared are you for doomsday?
I won't say that I'm like a doomsday prepper, but I will say that one of the goals of the farm, about a few years ago at home, I looked for a farm around my house for 15 years, and it's hard to find big acreage there. And this one's it's not massive. It's 365 acres, but the whole goal for it is to kind of unplug from the matrix and let it be self-sufficient. Should anything ever happen, I want my kids also to have the skill set and the knowledge to be able to take care of themselves if anything were to go bad. It doesn't have to be a civil war or Armageddon, just, to have, I feel like it's better to have it and need it. It's better to have it and not need it than need it and not have it. So, we're pretty close to being completely off the grid there with the lower part of the farm. So,
okay.
And, when it comes to guns, I mean, I don't think it's any secret. I tattooed the Second Amendment across the entirety of my back. I was tired of answering questions about where I stood on guns. I believe in the right to protect myself and my family and my country from tyranny if it came to that. But, I feel like it's, I follow, there's a thing called the Warrior Poet Society that a guy named John Lovell started. And there's something on there called the Order of Man. And I forget the guy's name that does it every time. But he said, as husbands and fathers, we have 3 jobs. And that's to protect, provide, and preside. And, it's not so much of the surface meaning of what those things are. It's, protecting. It's not just having a gun and being able to protect them from that kind of danger. It's to protect from anything they might face, emotionally. Mm-hmm. Doesn't all have to be physical, but, I do feel it like, and this is a core belief of mine, I'm responsible for the safety of my wife and my kids. And in this day and age, I feel like guns are a tool necessary for me to do my job.
Well, okay, so there's an artist, I'm not going to say his name, but it rhymes with Roast Cologne, and he's on the record as saying this is what he has at his home in Utah. And a lot of the stuff, I got to be honest, I don't know. You probably know what it is. I don't know. M14 that Navy SEALs use, a Walther PPK, a 44 Desert Eagle, a M1 911 pistol, a Coble AR-15 assault rifle, 2 gold-plated Glocks. Can you top that?
On one wall of my gun room, yeah. I love the guy, but I like guns. There's a Barrett 50 cal sitting on the wall. There's a few things in there that multi-purpose tools. They're tools, man.
Yeah. Well, like Hank Jr. was in here talking about his cannon.
Top that.
Okay, you don't have the cannon?
That dude, I met his one of the guys that he buys from, and I ain't gonna put his business in the street, but you don't want to break in that dude's house. It's gonna be World War II in that sumbitch.
Okay. Yeah. Now, how does it work? Like, do you ever perform with a heater on you? Are we?
I have.
Okay.
I have tried to make a habit out of it.
How does that work? Like, what if you just? I don't know. Like,
I have to tuck it back because on the front, I like the appendix carry.
Okay.
It's easy to get to, and most of the training I've done is from the appendix carry area. So if it's not right on my hip, so concealed. If I do go on stage, it's in my back. But if you think about it, like tactically, I mean, what good is it if you're on stage? Because if something happens, the probability is that it'll be out in front of you, or somewhere around you, and there's really no reason. I mean, you're going to shoot into a crowd to try to hit
Right,
one guy
right.
shooting at you. It doesn't make any sense, So I don't. I know there's a lot of guys that do that, and I've done it a couple times when there have been strange situations.
Okay.
That we've had to be careful with. But dude, I have a new security guy. His name's Jack Adams, and dude, he's incredible. So now before shows, times were a lot different then. We're talking about hole in the wall, biker bars, or clubhouses. You never knew what you were going to run into. I've seen them shot, stabbed, you name it. But now, every morning when we wake up at every venue, we have an email that's about a 3 or 4 page detailed, something he's advanced and prepared weeks ahead of time, where we have, a safety location that we go to if something were to go wrong. So, man, what I found at this stage, once you get to a certain stage in your career, if you run into problems, I'd say 90% of the time it's because you've put yourself in a bad position. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, I don't really feel the need to run around with an entourage. We had a conversation earlier. There are always people at the show outside of venue security or my security, always at every show that are there just in case. But very seldom are they ever needed. And the majority of the time in my career that I've needed them, it's because I've made the decision to put myself in a questionable situation.
Okay.
So, yeah, if you're safe, man, let's be honest, stay on the bus, you go play the show. I'm married with kids. I'm not trying to go out.
Right.
You know what I mean? We're laid back backstage. So we don't really find ourselves in bad situations very often anymore.
Okay. Jelly Roll just got nominated for Entertainer of the Year at the CMAs. Now, as someone that had championed Jelly Roll, how do you feel like that do you think that we would get to like a Post Malone if we didn't have like a Jelly Roll to bridge the gap in country music?
Here's the thing, man. I feel like throughout my career, there have been different people at different times that gave us credit for this, that, and the other. And man, I think it's awesome, but I think, of course he's opened doors for this genre. And I love it when somebody comes on the scene and does that, because that means we get to play again. You know what I mean? It's all right, we can dance a little more outside the box. But also just for the good of our genre, man, I know there's a lot of people that, it seems like they're handing out PhDs on what is and isn't country. I just always felt like that was an opinion thing. And to me, I know people have a lot to say about the rap thing coming into country and how it doesn't belong. But I beg to differ. If you meet some of these country rappers, you'll know real quick they're more country than your top 10. Than most of them. So, I'm of the mind that it's more about what a song's about, and what it says and what it talks about. But that's just my opinion, obviously. So, but yeah, dude, I'm excited for him, for somebody with the story he has, to get where where he is in life and in his career. I mean, think about it. When was the last time you heard of somebody breaking at 37, 38 years old?
Yeah, that's crazy.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And this isn't like the poster child. He wasn't on, he wasn't standing outside of Abercrombie in the mall when that shit was hot. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah,
This dude, he's not the poster child for anything other than, a success story that shouldn't have been. So, dude, it warms my heart to see it for him. I'm extremely happy for him and Bunny. And, dude, I'm just excited for what the next chapter of life holds for him.
What's the next chapter for BG, man?
Bro, we got this album coming out Friday. We're super excited about it. Got a radio single at radio with Ashley Cooke, who's such a rock star. Has been an incredible duet partner from the word go. We're building the house. We just signed a contract to sell ours, trying to move over to the farm. Got baby number 3 on the way here really, really soon. My world is a million miles an hour, but it's all good things, man. God's showing me some blessings I don't deserve, and trying to do my part and holding up my end of the bargain.
Amen, man. Well, dude, thanks for putting out another record, man.
Absolutely,
we appreciate
brother.
you.
Hey, if you got time, come on out tomorrow night. We're blowing stuff up. It's going to be a party.
All right. That's sweet, man. All right, let's bring Billy Dukes out from behind the scenes here to talk about this interview with Brantley Gilbert.
What was your number one takeaway, the one detail you pulled from this interview that kind of sat with you all weekend.
Probably that gun collection thing. I think getting into that with him is funny because I've always wondered, like he's always kind of hinted around like how he lives, and I've always just wondered, what kind of collection he had. And then when you put the Post Malone one in front of me, I mean, I thought that was a huge gun collection. And then Brantley was just so serious when he was like talking about he just has it on one wall. Like he wasn't even really laughing at first.
That was it for me. And I think full disclosure, like we're not, I guess I should be careful here. We're not gun guys per se. I'm not anti-gun in any stretch. I just don't own gun, and I don't know a lot about guns. So like, yeah, imagining a collection of the scale that Brantley Gilbert has is that's a lot to consider.
Yeah, I mean, it leaves me just to picture a gun store. Like that's what I'm picturing. Like how they have them all on the wall. Like
yeah,
I picture that, and then I also think like he's moving, like he just sold his house. Like, how do you go about moving your gun collection like that?
It's a really good point because a lot, moving companies, they won't move a lot of different things like that. And I don't know if guns are in the contract of things. You probably have to get some specialty movers to come haul all of that. And if you're not going to do it yourself, and that just seems like a lot of work because they're not light.
I just feel like Brantley Gilbert would just get like his bodyguards to do it. Like he's so
like Jack.
Brantley Gilbert is so unplugged from the world. He doesn't need anything. He runs everything himself. I got a couple guys, man. I'll get somebody over here out to the house.
Yeah, I think you're probably right. He'll just get his biker friends or that new bodyguard he brought in, Jack, who I think you mentioned.
Yeah.
The dude is
this guy was
a beast. Just an enormous man.
Yeah, this guy. Yeah. I got a picture like that guy's got a couple of Brantley's guns on him. And then I was curious, like my latest question I'm trying to ask now is if anyone's ever performed with a gun on them. And it sounds like he has, but he doesn't do it too often because he likes to draw from the front.
Well, also he made a pretty good point too, that if someone's if there's some trouble, it's in front of you and you're not going to go shooting a gun into a crowd of people. So,
yeah, that's a good point. But then I didn't bring it up, but I was thinking like, I don't know, man. Like, what if someone comes charging at you on stage or at a meet and greet,
I think that's why you got Jack.
Yeah, that's
right?
true.
I mean,
yeah, the big.
This is why he's there. He's there to handle those kinds of problems.
Yeah, I was like kind of offended. I was like, what kind of problem are me and Billy Dukes going to be that he had to bring this guy?
So the other part about this conversation with him is like, sure, yeah, talking about all his guns was super cool. But there was a level of depth to the conversation around all of this that I don't think I've ever experienced. That I don't think I've ever seen from Brantley Gilbert before. Like, he was... Like, this was part of a lifestyle and part of his ethos and protecting his family and fatherhood. It wasn't just like, I like to fire guns. It was a lot deeper, I think.
Yeah, it left me, like I was telling my wife, I was like, I'm not like personal friends with any of these guys or ladies that I interview, but like, I kind of feel like if I needed it, I could figure out to get in touch with Brantley Gilbert and he would come beat somebody's ass for me or send somebody.
I'm not sure we're there yet, but I think he would take the call at least.
Yeah, he would take the call and be like, hey, man, I just don't know, man. Maybe a couple more interviews with me and then we'll be cool.
He would give us some good advice on kind of how to skirt around that problem. Maybe he would just send Jack to kind of negotiate it.
I tell you what, man, I'm going to send Jack over, and I tell you that boy will stop anybody. Yeah, definitely.
I tell you what else kind of, there was a lot with this interview. Like, he went a few layers deeper than I think he ever has before. But the Gary LeVox duet was fascinating on its face. Like, Brantley Gilbert and Gary LeVox are not two artists you think they're going to sing together, because Gary LeVox is such a vocalist, and Brantley Gilbert's much more of a stylist. But the reason why that collaboration came together, and to find out that they're kind of long-term friends because Gary did a favor for Brantley's mom, like, that was out of nowhere.
Yeah, it certainly was, man. I love hearing stuff like that. That would have never, I don't think we would have ever heard about that had this collaboration not happened and we asked about it. But yeah, there's got to be a lot of that in country, in any genre of music. Like, I went to school with Taylor Swift's mom, so I can just hit her up and get tickets. Like, I thought that was really cool.
I think sometimes we ask questions kind of knowing the answer we're going to get. And a lot of journalists and interviewers do that. You kind of want them to tell a certain story or at least give their take on a certain story. And with Gary LeVox, I mean, it was just genuinely interesting to hear kind of how they came together. I had no idea that it all kind of funneled through their want to write a mom song together or record one together.
Do you think that that Brantley knows if Rascal Flats is announcing like some comeback tour?
I don't. He doesn't strike me as a particularly good secret keeper.
Yeah, I guess you're right. Okay.
So I think if he did know, he probably would have just played coy because he did try to kind of get it out. I tried to do that with Brantley during the Toby Keith tribute concert. I talked to Brantley on the red carpet, and I was like, there's got to be some extra Toby Keith music out there, like some outtakes or, a new album of unreleased material. And he kind of gave me that same sort of dead stare that he gave you and said, yeah, I don't know, man, that'd be pretty cool. It wasn't like any sort of wink or a smile or anything that said, yeah, I know. So maybe that's his thing. Maybe that's how he hides. He just sort of dead stares you and plays dumb. But I don't think that's the case necessarily.
And if you haven't been on the other side of that, it's like a Rottweiler staring at you at the face. He'll just give you that stare, and you're like, okay, I'm okay.
Yeah, you know pretty easily when to move on with Brantley Gilbert.
Yeah, but I'll also say that he's so nice too. Like, I mean, but he talks like in his past, like, man, I wouldn't want to be in an alley with him in his past, man. He sounds like he was rough.
It's pretty clear that like he is done with that lifestyle though. Like that line about any night he spends in jail is a night not spent with his kids. Like his full on dad mode situation that he's got going right now. It's pretty sincere. Like it's pretty wonderful to listen to him talk about it, but it is sort of like so different from like, like we've been covering him now for 10 or 15 years. Like it's a total 180 from like who he was the very first interview I had with him.
Wow. Yeah. And he's got that third kid on the way, man. It's not going to get any less. It's just going to be Brantley Gilbert dad country. He's going to start putting out dad country like Luke Combs.
No, don't do it, dude. Come on. You know what I mean? Like they start doing the dad album and then the husband album. And I just, I feel like, I'm not going to name the artist, but there's an artist who I really, really liked until he got married and had kids. And then all of his songs started becoming about his wife and kids. And he started kind of performing like he had to pay the mortgage and the car payments and like he was worried about all that stuff. And I think his success is not nearly as interesting, and he hasn't been nearly as successful since that happened.
Yeah, people could tell if it's genuine or if you're just trying to pay the bills, man. If it's a cash grab.
But sometimes that's the case. Sometimes people come into the interview and they're just trying to crank out a few questions and a few sound bites and give us the press release. And then you get artists like Brantley Gilbert. And we've had a ton of artists lately who have really sort of engaged. I mean, Brantley Gilbert's just one of them. Chase Rice came in, and we'll do his interview pretty soon. But he was locked in and really good. And then Justin Moore, I think we got coming up, don't we?
Yeah, got Justin Moore on the way. All those and the past ones, if you missed. We just sat down with Miranda Lambert, and she gave us a really good interview. Thomas Rhett, Lainey Wilson. Basically, if you hear them on the radio, you can hear us talking to them on Taste of Country Nights on Demand, wherever you get your favorite podcasts. Go ahead and lock us in.